Hi guys, it's Erin the Tacky Painter, and today we're going to paint this graduation night owl. For my colors, I've got titanium white, phthalo blue, ultramarine blue, unbleached titanium, burnt sienna, yellow ochre, Mars black, and we also use a little bit of yellow Cad hue. For my brushes, I've got 3 different size bright brushes, a round brush, and just a brush I can use to splatter some stars. If you enjoy painting this with me, feel free to click the thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And you can also subscribe to my channel and click the bell to be notified when I add new videos every week. Now let's get tacky. I've got my larger bright brush here. I'm going to dip it in water to get it ready, wipe it off. And I'm going to get into mostly white and a little tiny bit of my ultramarine blue. We're going to make our moon in the upper left corner. This is a 9 by 12 inch canvas sheet. You can use any size that you like. You can also use any colors that you like. Getting into more of my ultramarine blue and some white. And now this is the sky around our moon. Just painting this in. Now I'm grabbing even more blue and I'm gonna plant that, and then as I get closer to the other color, I'm gonna lighten my pressure and blend the 2 colors together. So there's not one line in between each color. The line is blended using soft pressure. So I'm remembering to breathe and relax and try to have fun. Don't be too stressed. I grabbed even more blue and I planted the color, and then as I got to the next color, just lightened my pressure to blend the 2 together. If you feel like you need to, you can always come back over this with another coat. Now I'm getting into a little bit of my black and mixing that with the rest of my blue to make a dark blue color. You could use phthalo blue with this if you want to, or you can make it a daytime scene. Grabbing more of that dark blue color and just blending. If your paint isn't flowing enough, you could add a little bit of water to it. That will increase the flow. And I'm just using curving brush strokes to just sort of radiate light out from the moon. Now I've gotten into just my black, and I'm gonna cover the rest of the white of the canvas with my black color. Grabbing more black. Just have fun covering up that canvas. Try not to worry. Don't be stressed out. As I get close to that blue color, I'm lightening my pressure. And that's what's helping me blend. Remember, you can always pause if I'm going too fast, or you can speed this up if I'm going too slow. Alright, we've got to let that dry before we can trace in our owl. So I'm rinsing out my brush really well, trying to get most of the paint off. I'm not going to leave my brush in the water because that will ruin it. I'm rinsing it off and then setting it aside. Alright, now I've got my splatter brush that I'm going to use for making stars. It's actually a cloud brush from Painting with Jane, if you know her on YouTube. So I've just got some white and I'm adding a little bit of water to it to help increase the flow of the paint. I'm loading it up. And I'm just going to pull the bristles toward me with my finger, and that will splatter the stars. I'm just putting them on the black part of the canvas. You can't really see it, but it's making stars. Getting a little bit more paint on there. I'm pulling the bristles towards me and it's flinging the stars onto the canvas. I'm going to rinse that out. Wipe it off and set it aside. And now I've got my small round brush that I'm going to use just to dot some bigger stars on there. So I'm just grabbing my white and I'm just going to make some bigger stars that are easier to see. Just wherever you think you need them, but I'm keeping them mostly in the black part. And I'm rinsing out. And now we'll let that dry. So it's dry. I've sped up this part. I'm just rubbing chalk on the back of my traceable. The traceable is going to be up on my website and the link will be in the description below. And I've just got a regular pen and I've flipped it over so the chalk is on the back, and I'm just tracing over my image so that my chalk will transfer onto the canvas and I'll have my picture on there. And there's my image. So now I've got my small bright brush, dipping that in the water to get it ready. And I'm just going to paint in white. Because it's over such a dark background, I want to paint in white so my colors will stand out better. So there's his little wing. If you're going to paint him in very translucent colors like red or yellow or orange, you're definitely going to want to paint white first, because that way the colors that you paint over it will be more bright and you'll be able to see them better against the dark background. So I wanted to paint this graduation owl because my daughter is going to be graduating from kindergarten soon, so I figured this would be a nice little painting to give to her. You don't have to paint him with the hat on. You could paint him with a bow. You could paint him without anything. He's cute as is. And you could use a bigger brush for this if you want to. I just used a smaller one because it gives me more control. Just grabbing more white and painting around his head. You don't have to be too careful because we're going to come back with more coats on top of this. So don't worry about it too much. And painting in his little feet down there. And also painting in his tail underneath the branch. Remember to take your time if you need to. Don't feel rushed by me. Rinsing out. Just because the color was starting to creep up into the ferrule, which is the metal part of the brush. So every once in a while it's good to rinse out. And then I grab just more white and I'm painting in his beak. Rinsing out again. Alright, now I've got my bigger bright brush. Oh, I guess it's a medium size, but I've also got unbleached titanium on my palette now. And I'm going to grab some of that and use that to paint in his belly. If you don't have unbleached titanium, you can mix a little bit of yellow ochre into your titanium white, and that'll give you a similar color. But remember, you can use any colors you want on your owl. If you need to do another coat, if the paint isn't covering enough, don't worry about it, just do another coat over it. But we're going to come back and add some feathers. Just try to enjoy painting him in. Remember to relax. And that's done, so I'm rinsing out my brush. Now I've got my smaller bright brush, and I'm just taking more of the unbleached titanium and I'm painting in around his eyes. I know it looks bright white there, but that's just because of the lighting. It's the unbleached titanium. And we'll come back with black to paint in his pupils. This is our underpainting, so it's in the ugly stage, but we're coming back with more layers, so we're not worried about it. So I'm rinsing out my brush. Right now I've got some Phalo Blue and Cad Yellow, and I'm mixing them together, mostly blue. I want to get a sort of teal color, and I've added some white to it. A little more blue. This is the Phalo Blue. We were using Ultramarine Blue before, but now I've switched to Phalo and a little Cad Yellow and white. And this is going to be the underpainting for his feathers on his wings and on his face. Because we painted it white first, it's helping the blue to stand out more, to look brighter. More of that same color. I'm just painting in his head. Remember, if you get paint in a place where you don't intend it to be, just let it dry and then you can paint right over it to fix it. And we're going to use that same color for his tail. And that part's done, so rinse out. And now I'm grabbing some yellow ochre, putting that on my palette. Loading up my brush and using that to paint in his feet. I always try to start with my darker colors and then add the highlights on top. So yellow ochre is a little bit darker than the Cad Yellow, which I'll use next. And then my final highlight will be mostly titanium white on his feet there. And I'm also using it for his beak. Rinsing out. Now grabbing some burnt sienna and putting that on the palette. And I squirted myself with it a little bit. But that happens. So I'm just wiping off. Grabbing a little burnt sienna. And I'm putting in the highlight on my branch there. I'm just putting this at the top part where it would be brighter, where the light from the moon would hit it. In this painting, I'm really trying to think about where my light source is, where the light's coming from, and that would be on the left side. So everything on the left side is going to be a little bit brighter, because that's where the light would be hitting it. So I'm just using burnt sienna to put in that highlight, just short choppy brush strokes to try to imitate bark. And then I'll come back with some black underneath for the shadow underneath the branch. Grabbing some black. And I'm letting the two blend in the middle because they're both still wet, so they'll blend right together. Rinsing out. Now I've got my small bright brush again. Getting into my black, and I'm just going to paint in his eyes. I'm also painting in his graduation cap. Remember, you don't have to add this part if you don't want to. But I just wanted to add it to sort of commemorate the fact that we're having graduations coming up. And my daughter's graduating from kindergarten next month. Which is sort of weird to think about. It's all going by very, very fast. So I'm rinsing out. Grabbing more of my yellow and phthalo blue. And more white this time, so it's a little bit lighter. Because I'm going to put this on the side where the moonlight is shining. And I'm just dabbing just to imply some feathers. Keeping the bright color over on the left side. I'm rinsing out. Now I'm adding more blue to that mixture to make it a little bit darker, because I'm going to put this on the right side. Just dabbing some darker feathers, because these would be more in shadow. And on the tail too, just dabbing. I'm rinsing out. Grabbing some burnt sienna, a little yellow ochre, mixing some white and unbleached titanium, just trying to get a little bit darker color for the feathers on his belly. That will be on the right side. And just letting them streak, making vertical brush strokes, just to imply feathers. I'm having darker feathers on this side and we'll get lighter as we go over towards the left side. So just some burnt sienna and yellow ochre. Then as I get towards the middle, I'm going to grab more unbleached titanium and put that in the mix. But I'm still letting that first layer of unbleached titanium show through in some parts. I'm not trying to cover all of that up. And now that we're getting more towards the left, I've added some bright white, because this is where the light from the moon would be hitting. Just touching up in some spots where it would be darker. Just keep going till it looks right and then stop. Rinse out. Wipe off. Grabbing some unbleached titanium and just doing another layer around the eyes where it didn't cover so well. I'm getting a little bit of the burnt sienna into it over on the right side. I'm sort of letting my brush strokes start in the middle towards the black and then fan out from there. My black wasn't dry completely, so it streaked into the white part a little bit, but that's alright. When that dries, I'll just paint over it. Just starting with my brush towards the black and letting the brush strokes fan out around the circle. Sort of like if you were drawing rays around the sun. And covering up that black part. I'm grabbing my Cad Yellow and putting the next brightest layer on his feet. I've added a little bit of white to it just to help it stand out a little better. And this is the next brightest layer right there on his feet. Keeping the bright parts mostly to the left. And this will help him look more three-dimensional because he's got a light side and a dark side. So it makes him look like he's taking up space. I'm grabbing my yellow ochre and a little burnt sienna and making a dark side of his nose. A part that is in shadow. And doing the same thing with his feet. Rinsing out. Now grabbing mostly white, adding it to my teal mixture, and this will be my brightest highlight on this left side. So if there's one thing I want you to get out of this lesson, it's to pay attention to where your light source is in your painting. And make the parts where the light is hitting your object brighter. And the parts where the light isn't hitting will be darker. So I've added just mostly blue now, and I'm making my darker feathers over here on the right. Rinsing out. And we're almost done. Grabbing some white and just painting in the cap, putting a highlight on there. And the black part is still wet, so it's blending a little bit. Just letting it streak across. And a little bit of a highlight there on the side where the moonlight would be shining. Rinsing out. Now I've got my small round brush. And I'm grabbing just plain white, and I'm going to add the reflective dots in his eyes. There's one big one there and a little one right next to it. Same thing on the other eye. One bigger one. And the smaller one right next to it. Keeping it in the black part. Grabbing my yellow ochre and white. And I'm making his tassel for his graduation cap. I just put a dot right there in the middle. A line straight across. And then some tassels coming down over the side. Okay, I've got that same round brush, grabbing some yellow, Cad Yellow and white, and adding my brightest highlight on his feet. Remember, acrylics dry darker, so you always want to try to make it a little bit brighter than you intend, because you know it's going to dry a little bit darker. And I've also added the highlight there on his beak on the left side. Grabbing my small bright brush and some unbleached titanium, and just doing another layer of feathers around his eye. And these I'm letting go outside of the circle that I drew a little bit, just to imply that he's fluffy, he's got feathers there. I'm trying not to hit the tripod with my long handled brush. Gotta maneuver a little bit. So I'm sort of planting my brush near the black, making my stroke and then lifting up as it gets to the end. And remember, you can take as much time on him as you want. I just try to keep these videos short because I only have so much room on my memory card. And also because the kids will be busting in the room at any second. But you take as long as you need on these. I've grabbed some burnt sienna. Just over here on this side. Maneuvering around the tripods. Just adding a few more touch-ups down here, allowing his feathers to go outside of that line that I drew just a little bit to make him seem more fluffy. Unbleached titanium on this side. Making sure that it covers over the dark blue of the background. And we're almost done. I'm rinsing out. And I want to remind you that there's always something to look forward to. And I look forward to painting with you guys next time. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all your support. Bye-bye.